Basara was a lonely, ugly bastard whose life became more useless than dog poop after he and his father were exiled from their village for sending almost everyone to Nirvana. However, it all changed when his father suddenly came home with 2 demon girls with level 10 Jayat to be his sisters, and he started to clap them. Just after his father introduced the 2 girls, Basara woke the next morning to 2 large cannons staring down at him. Being in such sauce position was giving him a hard time in more ways than one, so he tried adjusting himself but accidentally pushed her over and fell on top of her heavenly pillows. However, Mio got pissed with the cultured idiot and knee-kicked his baby-making factory before walking out of the room. Later on that morning, Basara headed downstairs and found Maria making breakfast. He was shocked to see her in sauce clothing and wondered if his stepsisters were on a mission to seduce him to death. Shortly afterward, they had a group photo. Even though Basara was quite reluctant, he had no option but to be involved in the family photo with the 2 psychotic chicks. Few minutes later, Basara and Mio dropped by the mall for some grocery shopping, and just as Basara went to get the bike, Mio was attacked by some delinquents who wanted to have fun with her. As they harassed her, Basara intervened and demanded they have fun with their hands instead, which infuriated the thugs. They immediately moved to smash, but he countered the attack using his bicycle's tire to hit one of the thugs' disgusting face, then sprayed pepper on the eyes of the rest. Just then, he grabbed Mio and pedaled the bicycle away from the scene. Realizing the dude actually saved her ass and acted like a big brother she never had, Mio thanked him and apologized for her rude actions from earlier. However, Basara told her since they would be leaving together, it was best they start helping each other and become a family little by little. Later that night, Jin informed Basara that he would be going overseas for a freelancer job and urged him to take care of the family as the oldest son. As soon as he left, Basara, who went outside to bid him a safe journey, entered the house and felt something wasn't right. Suddenly, the lights went out, so he headed to the room to look for his stepsisters. He noticed something was off about the crazy girls and they were acting weird. Just then, Mio ordered him to leave the house, but as he declined her order, Maria blasted him with an energy blast that sent him dashing against the wall and hugging the ground. That moment, he wondered what in the Looney Tune was going on, and just then, Maria transformed into a little elf demon with long tails. She informed him that they were demons and that Mio was the demon lord. She further revealed that the clan of gods and heroes were their sworn enemies. Before she could say any more, Mio jumped in and told Basara that they were taking over the house. She added that the house would serve as their demon base in the human world. However, the revelation seemed unbelievable to Basara, who asked them what would happen to the marriage between his father and their mother. Mio disclosed that the marriage was all a fraud as Jin's memories had been altered, and it was now his turn to get his memories fried. Right then, amidst a blinding light, Maria thought she had erased the dude's memories, but was shocked when Basara Una reversed the situation and began to switch positions like Flash, which stunned the sisters. Realizing the memory erasing magic didn't work, Maria tried blasting him with mystic energy, but Basara deflected the attack by summoning his Metal Gear sword. Basara then revealed that he was a member of the Hero Clan, which shocked the girls because they assumed that the Hero Clan were far away in a hidden village. That moment, Basara's metal sword began to emit a fiery flame, and he thought of ending their miserable, deceptive lives, but as he charged at them, he rethought and decided to spare their pathetic lives. He asked them to leave the house and never showed their ugly ass anywhere near him or Jin. Following this incident, Basara called Jin and told him exactly what went on in his absence, and Jin disclosed that he had known about it but just played along, pretending to have his memories wiped. He revealed to Basara that Mio was the only daughter of the demon lord Wilbert, who put an end to the long battle between the demons and the hero clans with his immense powers. However, after all he did, the warlike demons who hated the truce came after his throne, and to keep the threat from coming after his newborn child, he gave the child to humans to raise. On the other hand, Mio and Maria regretted their actions for behaving like insensitive jerks and decided to stop lying to people. Just as they were about to turn a new leaf, they were attacked by phantom mist demons. Meanwhile, Basara was told by Jin that Wilbert, Neo's father, died, and the present demon lord wanted Mio's great power that she inherited from her father. Simultaneously, the mist demon rained several mist energies on Neo and Maria, which they evaded, and Neo countered by blasting the demon. Meanwhile, Basara, after hearing all Jin had to say, regretted his harsh actions of sending his stepsisters out of the house, so he jumped on his bicycle and searched for them in the city. At the same time, the duo blasted the demons away with mystic energy, but just as they thought it was all over, a mist demon appeared behind Mio and fired her with electricity that sent her flying like a useless Barbie doll. Mio thought it was the end for her, and there was no way in hell she would escape, cementing herself to Mother Earth. That instant, Basara, who had discovered their location, saw her flying without wings, and the flashback of their brief time together began to flood his memories. So he pulled the stunt only Tom Cruise could do and caught her midair, but soon realized that the mist demon was fast approaching. However, he isekai'd its weak ass in a single slash. As the dust settled, he showed the girls the family portrait and told them they were family, and he couldn't abandon them. Later that night, Maria inquired why Basara, a member of the hero clan, had saved them. He enlightened her that Jin had explained the situation they were in to him, which shocked Maria that the old scum knew everything after all and had just played with them like toys. Meanwhile, Mio, who had just finished having her bath, broods over the incident. She thought that if Basara had not done this in a timely manner, she would have been dining with Lucifer in hell. Shortly afterwards, Maria informed Mio that they needed allies to fight the war with the warlike demons, and since Basara and Jin had offered their help, it was the wisest decision to accept their kindness. She further revealed that she had a proposal that involved Basara and Mio weaving a master-servant pact magic. She disclosed that those whose souls are bound by the pact are able to sense each other and can pinpoint their location. However, Basara felt it was a stupid idea, as a GPS on a cell phone was built for just that. Maria disclosed that the pact magic could only be done on a full moon, and they had to commence immediately before the moon went down. As they commenced, Mio informed Basara that he had to kiss the magic circle that appeared on the back of Mio's hand so he could be the servant and her the master. Shockingly, the magic circle appeared in Basara's hand, which shocked them. So Maria asked Mio to kiss his hands, but she declined, being a slave to the disgusting moron. That moment, the magic circle disappeared, but the pact had already been formed, which resulted in a slave collar appearing around Mio's neck. In a matter of seconds, Mio had a seizure and fell to the ground. Seeing Mio on the ground, Maria informed Basara that the curse had taken effect, but he didn't know what the hell the miniature Barbie was yapping about. So she explained that when a servant became rebellious to her master, the curse activated, and since Mio refused to kiss his disgusting hands, the curse activated. She further revealed that the curse is alleviated when the master makes the servant submit. So she asked Basara to touch Mio in a way that would make her submit, as that was the only way to relieve her from the painful effect of the curse. Upon hearing this, the creep immediately played with her plots. He moved his hands like a pro, round about her huge melons like they were steering wheels, which relieved her and broke the curse. The next morning, Basara followed Mio to her school and enrolled as a new student. So after introducing himself in class, the useless teacher appointed a blue-haired girl named Nanaka to take care of Basara. Just as the teacher left the class, Nanaka approached Basara and gave him a hug, which shocked everyone. He thought the girl must be an asylum patient, but realized she was Yuki, his childhood friend. On the other hand, Mio, on seeing the blue-haired bitch hug Basara, became salty, so she moved in and yelled at Nanaka to leave her man alone and separated them from the intense hug. The two girls soon began to fight over the Prince Charming, which made all the losers in the school envious of Basara as they wished to be in his shoes. Shortly afterwards, during lunch, a random dude named Takigawa approached Basara, and they soon became buds. Basara opened up to him that the guys in the class were looking at him in a weird way, and Takigawa responded, telling him that he had made enemies of the entire school, not just in class, which stunned Basara. He further revealed that both Mio and Yuki were the school's Paris Hilton, and Basara was a top G to have both hot baddies trip over his rees. He added that the boys in the school hated Basara because they were envious of his aura and his chadly behavior. At the end of the school day, while Basara and Mio walked home, they were approached by Yuki, who demanded she talk with Basara alone in private. So they went to the nearest coffee shop to talk, and then she revealed to him that he had changed and was not the same simp she used to know. Yuki added that 5 years ago, when they were kids, she would hug him, and he would reciprocate and even go as far as squeezing her rice cakes, but now he was too much of a Chad to hug her back. Just then, she delivered a shocker and warned him to stop associating with Mio. She further revealed that the hero clan in the village had sent her to observe Mio, but Basara informed her that he already knew all about Mio's story and that she was a demon. However, Yuki revealed that he alone cannot protect Mio and defeat the demons after her. Still, Basara responded, telling her that the demons were after the powers lurking inside Mio, and he didn't need to win, but just to fend them off. Just then, Yuki summoned her sword and slashed a demon behind Basara, and then informed him that if Mio's existence started causing danger to her surroundings, the village would mark her for elimination, and when that happened, she wouldn't be able to show mercy. Later that night, Basara explained the situation to his sisters to clear things up with Mio's jealousy of Yuki. Hearing all he had to say, Maria then suggested he strengthen his bond of trust with Mio so she would stop suffering from jealousy. In order to strengthen the bond, she instructed they have a shower plot. As soon as they began getting cultured, the dude nearly had a heart attack from too much excitement, so he informed the thirsty girls that he was too hungry and didn't have the strength for this type of activity. The following day in school, Basara slept in class after hammering all night. However, he was jerked from slumberland by Takegawa, who informed him that the teacher wanted him and Yuki to visit the faculty office for the summer break assignment. Seeing Basara and Yuki spend time together made Mio extremely jealous, and she felt she couldn't trust Basara enough, so her slave collar began to glow, and she became dizzy and passed out. Basara grabbed her and rushed her to the infirmary. On getting to the infirmary, the hot nurse named Hasagawa informed Basara that Mio had anemia and needed a bit of rest. The weird nurse then informed Basara that he needed to build up quality allies and also consider who his allies and enemies were when he acted. Shortly afterwards, Basara, while getting a drink from the vending machine, was approached by Takegawa, who asked him if he had seen any monster lurking around. But Basara responded, telling him the only monster he had seen was him with his haunting face. However, the dude kept rambling on. Basara didn't have time for his useless talk and decided to ditch his ass. Suddenly, there was a complete blackout, and Basara noticed demons emerge from the hall. At the same time, in the infirmary, Mio wakes up to find Yuki, who demands that they talk. Simultaneously, Basara faced off with the demons, slashed them like cabbage with his sword, and immediately dashed to the infirmary to check on Mio. On getting to the infirmary, he didn't find her, so he decided to look for her and scan the entire school. Meanwhile, as Yuki and Mio talked on the rooftop, Yuki ordered her to leave Basara, but Mio declined, insisting they were a family and Basara had vowed to protect her. Hearing her words angered Yuki, who summoned her energy saber and then blasted her with mystic energy, which she parried. Just then, Mio launched a vortex at her, and the two began attacking each other. After a while of fighting each other, Yuki halted the fight and informed Mio that Basara found it difficult even to wield a sword, and that letting him fight for her was cruel. She added that 5 years ago, in order to save the Hero Clan village, Basara escaped half the population of the village, which was the reason why Jin and Basara were exiled from the Hero village. Meanwhile, Basara, who was still searching for Mio, decided to use the Master Servant Pack GPS to locate her. So on getting the location, he dashed to the rooftop and found the girls charging at each other. He immediately scolded them for being morons and engaging in a pointless fight. Right then, Takegawa appeared above them, donning an evil mask, and revealed that he was the mastermind behind the demons who appeared in school. He further revealed to Mio that Basara had been fighting demons every night till dawn for her sake, and that's why the dude had been dozing off in class. That instant, Basara had heard enough, so he unleashed his energy saber and jumped high to annihilate the scrawny, ugly dude, but Takegawa slashed him before he could even get to him. Before Basara could regain his composure from the attack, Takegawa summoned a demon behind Mio. As the demon tried impaling her with his sword, Basara intercepted the attack and got impaled instead, splattering blood everywhere. Seeing Basara injured, Yuki became enraged and sliced the demon. She immediately charged at Takegawa and tried attacking him, but he evaded her attack. That moment, Takegawa mocked Mio, telling her Basara got severely injured as a result of her decision. He informed her that involving others in her fight would only get more people hurt. Later that night, the girls treated Basara at home, and Mio couldn't stop thinking about what Takegawa had mentioned, so she excused herself and left her room. Shortly afterwards, Basara became conscious, which made Maria wonder how he could recover so fast and thought he was the bravest man alive, but so was the cameraman. However, Basara revealed to her that he could be so strong because of the rigorous training he had to endure in the village. Still in the feeling, he decided to tell her the story of his life. Years ago, he was the strongest and brightest star in his village. But one day, while they were training, they got a message from one of the villagers that Sito had taken the sacred sword from a fellow villager. He added that the dude had been possessed and planned on attacking the village. Moments later, Sito attacked the village and even went after the children. Just as the deranged maniac was about to end Yuki, little Basara interrupted with his immense power. He caused a powerful explosion that vanquished the enemy and destroyed the ground. Basara was worried sick about Mio, so Maria suggested she look for her. On getting to her room, she discovered the nutcase wasn't there and had escaped. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Mio linked up with Takegawa in a bid to fight her battles alone and not keep hurting people. That instant, she tried fighting the masked creep by hurling energy blasts at him. Still, her attacks were very useless as Takajiwa summoned a mighty fiery shield that deflected all her attacks. Realizing she was weak and couldn't defeat Takegawa, she decided to give up and surrender, pleading with him not to lay a hand on Basara and the others. So Takegawa bound her hands using an evil mist and was about to teleport her to the demon realm. But suddenly, he was hit by a mystic energy slash. Right then, Yuki appeared and started to slash him with her blade. She unleashed her hero armor suit and lunged forward with her oppression. She slashed at him multiple times even though he created a spiritual barrier that blocked all her attacks. In a last-ditch effort, she slashed, and the barrier shattered, leaving the freak open and vulnerable. He wondered how she was able to destroy the barrier, and she told him she had slashed multiple times at a particular spot, which made the barrier weak. On hearing her, he felt Yuki was a badass, so as she was about to land the final blow that would give him a permanent residence in hell, Takegawa narrowly evaded the attack and leaped high to a tall building. At that moment, Takegawa decided to launch his oppression campaign, so he blasted Yuki with electricity and unleashed spheres of energy blast that rained on her. With all the attacks she had managed to endure, she became exhausted but determined to keep fighting. Takegawa, hoping to bring an end to the fight, summoned a mighty sphere of energy blast and hurled it at Yuki. That instant, she saw her life flash before her eyes, but Basara arrived just in the nick of time to save her ass, and using his blade, he vanquished the mighty sphere. Just then, Basara charged at the nuisance, but Takegawa fired another mighty sphere, and Basara sliced the sphere using the banishing shift technique that renders all forms of attack meaningless. Basara was finally able to shatter the sphere, which gave Takegawa a total shock. Even though the attack injured him, Basara charged at Tokugawa and unleashed a barrage of attacks at him. Still, Tokugawa managed to evade his attack and summon balls of energy blasts, which he fired at him. Basara slashed through the balls unfazed and attacked him, but the moron wouldn't stop rambling, so Basara yelled at him to shut his disgusting mouth. In a turn of events, Tokugawa grabbed Basara's neck, but Maria materialized from nowhere and landed a powerful blow that shattered his defense mechanism, leaving him open and vulnerable. Basara utilized the opportunity and sliced his guts multiple times, which neutralized the threat temporarily and freed Mio from the mist shackles on her arms. Just as they thought it was all over, a phantom mist demon appeared behind them in a split second and stabbed Basara in the guts. Thinking her plot master had finally met his demise, Mio screamed in rage and unleashed her dormant powers, vanquishing the phantom mist demons instantly. Basara realized Mio was finding it difficult to control her powers, so before she blew herself up, he decided to help her even though she insisted he save himself. He used the banishing shift technique to discern the root of a power going out of control with the hope of eliminating it. So he blasted and freed her from the overwhelming power. Several weeks later, they recovered from the injuries sustained and went back to school. That afternoon in school, Basara met up with Takegawa at the rooftop, but the idiot was acting all cool, not knowing Basara could smell his disgusting evil aura and had seen through his masked disguise. Even when Basara revealed that he knew Takegawa was the masked freak that attacked them, he tried denying it so to prove Basara tried punching him, but he disappeared and appeared in split seconds. Realizing his cover was blown, he asked Basara what he wanted to do now, so Basara informed him he wanted to negotiate. Since the demon lord sent Takegawa to monitor Mio, which he had failed completely at it and blown his cover. They will need to work together, he got to keep his job, and the acting demon would not get to know that he was a miserable failure, which Tokugawa agreed to temporarily. As Tokugawa left the rooftop, Mio stormed in and thanked Basara for saving her life with a kiss. Before he could exchange saliva with her, Yuki held him back and told Mio to stop behaving like a cheap whore. At that moment, the two desperate chicks began to fight, and Maria soon joined them. The following day, Basara woke up feeling something saws down there. Then he saw Maria in her birthday suit, playing with his willy. He yelled at her, but when she wouldn't listen, he pushed her off and headed to the bathroom to make the early morning deposits, only to find Mio taking a bath. On seeing him, she screamed, but he quickly held her mouth. However, while he suddenly tripped and fell with Mio on top of him in a two-directional sauce position. Realizing the tension between them was uncontrollable, Basara suggested they only use the master-servant pact when necessary, to which Mio agreed. However, she thought it best to electrocute his ass for dashing into the bathroom and invading her privacy. Shortly afterwards, Basara finally had a peaceful moment away from all the thirsty traps all over the house. Just then, he felt someone caressing his hair, and as he turned, he found harem member number 3 in the bathroom, ready to develop plot. However, Basara was tired of dishing out simp content, so he asked her to leave, but she refused and pulled down her plot armor, insisting the show must go on. Suddenly, Mio came knocking on his room door because she heard happy noises coming from his room. After a while of knocking with no response, she dashed into the room and then inside the bathroom to find the uncensored scene. She immediately became furious and moved to electrocute the cheating bastard finally. But suddenly, she felt the intense plot craving that overwhelmed her any time she thought of hurting Basara. Later that day, Basara and Takigawa had lunch, and Takigawa revealed to him that Jin, his father, was famous in the demon realm. He further revealed that his father was the reason why the former demon Lord Wilbert had withdrawn the troops. He feared his monstrous strength in combat. Takigawa also informed him that he got information that the demon lord was sending reinforcement for observation since they hadn't heard from him. He added that the demon lord assumed that Mio had awakened the previous demon lord's powers. Just then, their conversation was interrupted by Hasegawa, who insisted on joining the boys for lunch. While they ate lunch together, she revealed that she knew Basara's father and she was a massive fan of his photo collection. Later that evening, Basara walked home with Hasegawa, and she started giving him a pep talk about loyalty and demons. Suddenly, she placed his fat head on her huge pillows, making Basara wonder why only psychotics were attracted to him. The following day, Tokugawa encountered an ugly Thanos rip-off demon called Valga, who disclosed to him that the demon lord sent him also to observe the target, hinting at Mio. A few seconds later, another female demon named Zest with cannons the size of Tokugawa's head emerged from the portal, and revealed to him that she had come to also observe the situation of things on orders of the Majesty. Before long, the heroes of justice arrived in town with a mandate from the village to upgrade the target from observation to elimination, hinting at Mio. The following day at the mall, while on a date with Yuki, they were interrupted by Mio and Maria. On seeing Mio, Yuki asked for her help in choosing the perfect outfit since she was a village girl who hadn't been keeping up with the Kardashians. So Mio helped her select a few outfits which she loved. Shortly afterwards, they head outside the mall after a long day of shopping, but they couldn't find Yuki and stood outside the mall wondering where the pantomime might have gone. Suddenly, they noticed the sky change color, and in the blink of an eye, they were attacked by a powerful vortex that nearly ended their worthless lives. Right then, they were faced with Valga, who was ready to annihilate them. On seeing the uglier version of Thanos, Basara charged at him, but his attack was as useless as Maria's surfboard body. Valga threatened to break every bone in their bodies and started to overwhelm them. Just as he was ready to punch Basara out of existence, he was stabbed with an ice blade that turned him into a useless snowman, shattering him completely. At that moment, Basara noticed the presence of the heroes of justice and wondered why they left the village. Shiba, one of the heroes, responded and revealed to him that they were sent on the order of the village. Afterwards, Kurumi, one of the heroes and sister of Yuki, then called Basara a traitor for protecting the demon's lord daughter. Takashi, the third member of the Power Rangers rip-off, disclosed to Basara that the village had upgraded Mio to a mid-class target for elimination. After listening to all they had to say, Basara asserted that he would protect Mio even if it meant going against the village. Upon hearing this, the Hero League resolved to attack, but Shiba broke the barrier covering the space, informing them they couldn't fight just yet because the barrier was weak and the fight would definitely lead to destruction in the city. He assured Basara that a stronger barrier would be created in a week's time, and then they could have their fight. Days later, Basara and the girls train with great intensity for the upcoming battle against the heroes of justice, and Maria revealed that with the Byakuya spear in Takashi's possession, it would be difficult to defeat them. At the same time, Kurumi and Yuki had a discussion. Kurumi was pissed with her that she had forgotten her mission and grown fond of the target, hinting at Mio. She explained that the village decision was final, and she had to choose between the village or Basara. After a long training day, Basara was exhausted and opted to save the show some budget, but the girls had vowed to exhaust the show budget with plenty sauce scenes. Mio approached Basara and pointed out how he and Mio needed to grow the master-servant pact by cultivating plot to enable them to grow stronger. But Basara chooses to be a top GE and yelled at her that he can't go all the way with Mio because she is his sister. However, the short skimmer thought his words were useless, so she climbed him to load his short gun and change his mind. After several hours of intense workout, Broski decided that one more simp moment wouldn't hurt anyone, so he launches further into the deep later that night. The following day in school, Basara encountered Yuki in the hallway, and she begged him to withdraw from the fight with the heroes of justice. Upon hearing her, Basara declined and explained to her that he had a duty to protect Mio as her brother. His words angered Yuki, so she made her decision to fight for the heroes of justice and ditch his simp ass. Later that night, Basara and the girls arrived at the location of the battle and found Shiba and the heroes' team already ready for the battle. At that moment, using the power of the Byakuya, Takashi cast a barrier to prevent interference. The fight commenced with both parties attacking each other. Basara fought against Kumuri, while Maria and Mio fought with Takashi. A few minutes into the fight, Maria and Mio lured Takahisa to a secluded place, and Maria delivered a stunning kick that sent him flying. She didn't end there, she continued her onslaught, which Takahisa evaded effortlessly. With a high jump, he attacked her with the Byakuya, but she managed to block the strike. Just then, Takahisa unleashed the power of the Byakuya that impacted Maria and sent her smashing to the roof. Seeing Maria being beaten like a useless thief, Mio cast a spell that burst the building drainage system, and the whole place became flooded. Meanwhile, Basara continued to evade Kurumi's attack and tried landing an attack of his own, but she created a mighty shield, and upon impacting the shield, Basara was sent crashing to the wall of the building. That instant, Kurumi approached him and told him to fight his best, as the village would never reconsider their move to exile him after he isekai'd half the population of the village years back. But before she could complete her statement, Basara used the power of the banishing shift and landed a strike that hit her. As Kurumi fell down the building from the impact of Basara's attack, Basara caught her in mid-air and prevented her from hugging the ground. Just then, Basara sighted Yuki, who drew her sword and charged at him, hitting him in the face with the hilt of her sword. While he lay on the ground, Yuki inserted a sleeping potion in his mouth to put him out of action. On the other hand, the sisters thought the flooded water would hold Takahisa for a while, but were shocked when a rippling effect drained the water out of the building, and Takahisa emerged. Takahisa, wielding the Byakuya, resolved to end the lives of the girls and unleashed the power of the spear to rip them apart. Just as he thought the girls had been eliminated, he found the menace outside the building, fleeing. So he ran after them and continued to overwhelm them until Yuki, who had switched allegiance back to Basara, came and defended the girls. Shortly afterwards, Mio found Basara unconscious in the arm of Kumuri, and Kumuri explained that Basara had been given a sleeping potion and had drifted to Slumberland. So Mio tried waking up the heady sleeper, and just when she thought it was impossible, the dude was jerked back to the present. At the same time, Takahisa and Yuki continued to exchange attacks, and just when Takahisa overwhelmed her and ready to land the final strike that would send her to Nirvana, Basara appeared just in the nick of time to save her. The two dudes soon began fighting, with Basara attacking at sonic speed, which Takahisa parried with great effort. Just then, the Byakuya shield activated auto-defense due to the multiple attacks it had deflected. The shield exploded, sending Takahisa crashing to the ground and transforming into its true form, a giant white magical tiger. Realizing the tiger might explode and destroy the city, the team decided to attack and vaporize it. So Yuki attacked and brought down the tiger's shield, and using the banishing shift, Basara completely vaporized the Byakuya tiger. As the dust settled, Takahisa received a face-resetting slap from Mio for being an insensitive jerk and for trying to eliminate his friends because of a stupid cause. Meanwhile, Shiba, who had been watching the fight outside the barrier, informed the heroes' squad that the mission had been temporarily withdrawn. Upon hearing this, the team stopped the fight and headed home, taking Yuki along. Several weeks later, Basara felt Yuki's absence from school, and Mio noticed how sad he had been since Yuki had left. The following day, Basara woke up, and as he headed to get breakfast, he found Yuki making breakfast, which stunned him. He wondered how she was able to leave the village and return, so she informed him that the elders of the village chose to pretend the recent events never happened. She further revealed that the elders of the village received a call from Jin that prompted them to call off the entire mission. Upon hearing that, Basara wondered what kind of deal Jin must have struck with the elders to have called off the mission. A few minutes later, Mio and Maria entered and found the pervs in a saw's position. So Mio yelled at Yuki and asked her where she was in the house. Yuki informed her that she had received permission from the elders to start living with them, which gave the sisters a total shock. Shortly afterwards, the short nutcase announced that she had a new anime she would love them to watch together. So everyone gathered in the living room to see the latest anime, but the evil midget showed them a video of Basara and Mio developing plot. Upon seeing the video, Mio became enraged and strangled her small neck, while Yuki felt Mio had been enjoying it for too long, and now it was her turn, so she decided to form a master-servant pact with Basara. Her decision made Maria excited as she would get to record more plot-filled videos, so she informed Yuki that she would help her form the pact on the next full moon, which was the next day. Later that day in school, Basara noticed Maria inside the school compound and concluded that the short, cultured girl definitely had an evil agenda, so he trailed her. He soon finds her sneaking into the class and asks her why she is in school, so she explains that she is worried about Mio's safety. Throughout that day in school, Mio and Yuki had bad energies, as Mio was jealous that Yuki was going to form a master-servant pact with her boo. Meanwhile, Basara and Maria walked around the school like jobless fugitives, and they finally found themselves in the girls' changing room. Noticing some movement in the changing room, they decided to hide inside Mio's locker to prevent being caught. Inside the locker, Maria took undue advantage of the opportunity and cultivated a massive plot with Basara. A few minutes later, Mio arrived in the changing room, and as she opened her locker, she found the disgusting nutjobs having a fun time inside, which stunned her, so she closed the locker to avoid attention from the other random girls. After the side characters left the changing room, she demanded the mental case, and the creep came out of the locker. As they came out, she asked for an explanation from the freaks, but before they could explain, the master-servant curse overwhelmed her and caused her to experience intense plot cravings. So to counter the effect of the curse, Maria suggested that Basara go all rough with Mio this time so as to enhance his combat capabilities. So Bro took her to the shower and developed plot with her again, instantly enhancing their combat abilities. At the end of the school day, the team couldn't find Maria, so Basara went in search of her and suddenly saw her having a conversation with Takegawa. Curious, he dashed to know what the demons might be planning, but he arrived late as the discussion was over. As they walked home, Basara asked Maria what the discussion she had with Takegawa was all about, but she evaded the question and changed the topic. Meanwhile, somewhere in the demon's lair, Zest played videos of Mio and Basara together, and Zolgia, an obnoxious demon, got enraged that the spike head was hammering the woman he was attracted to, hinting at Mio under the disguise of a master-servant pact. The following night, the master-servant pact between Yuki and Basara commenced, and just then, the magic circle appeared on Basara's hand. But Yuki refused to kiss because she wanted Basara to dominate her like he does to Mio. In a matter of seconds, the magic circle disappeared, and then the slay collar appeared on Yuki's neck, finalizing the master-servant pact. Noticing Yuki was experiencing intense plot cravings, Basara caressed her plot and rice cakes, which made her scream loud. The following day in school, while Basara wore his uniform in the men's changing room after the volleyball session, Sakaki, a fellow student and Mio friend, suddenly stormed into the room and demanded he had another volleyball session with her using her balls. Realizing the dude was hesitant, the depraved freaky girl pounced on him and started to undress. However, Yuki and Mio entered the room to find their man being ravaged. Mio leaves, but Yuki attacks the girl. Sakaki could see her hero blade, so Yuki instructed Basara to go after Mio and leave the freak to her. As she moved to attack, Aokawa, another student, came in to join the fight against Yuki. Meanwhile, as Mio fled, the curse suddenly activated, which made her exhausted. Then, Maria approached her disguise to help her. Suddenly, Zest materialized before their eyes, and before Basara could get to them, Zest opened a portal and teleported them to the demon lair. That moment, Basara tried using the Master-Servant Pact to pinpoint Mio's location, but realized it wasn't working, and it only showed him Yuki's location. Several hours later, Mio, who was unconscious, woke up to find herself in the demon lair, and just then, Zest approached her, telling her she had been captured. That moment, Zolgia walked in, and on seeing the demon who isekai'd her earthly parents, Mio became enraged. The freaky demon moved in to play with Mio's huge melons, but Maria interrupted and told Zolgia that the demon Lord Leohart was on a call in Magical Orb. On receiving the call, Leohart spoiled his fun moment and ordered him to return to the royal castle for an assignment. At the same time, Basara linked up with Tokugawa and asked for his help to locate Mio, who had been captured. However, Tokugawa informed him that Maria had been a traitor all this while and was working for Zolgia to capture Mio. He further revealed that Zolgia captured Maria's mom, forcing her to work with him. On hearing this, Basara became furious and insisted Takegawa disclose Mio's location. However, Takegawa declined, which prompted Basara to attack him. Takegawa countered his attack and teleported him to the demon lair unconscious. Zest approached Takegawa, so he proposed a deal, exchanging Basara for Mio, but Zest couldn't care less about what he wanted and then stabbed his gut with her sharp claws, eliminating him instantly. That moment, Zest teleported Basara, who was still unconscious, into the mansion. Maria was stunned, so Zest instructed her to subdue him and dominate his heart. A few minutes later, Basara regained consciousness to find himself tied to the bed in a room. As he wondered what was going on, he found Maria, who jumped on him and insisted they develop plots since it was his final moment on Earth. As she was about to commence, Basara enlightened her that he was aware of her mom's entrapment and that he would do all in his might to get her released. Hearing his words angered her, as she felt no one could possibly help her now, so she unlocked her trump card and transformed from being flat like the latest iPhone to the chick with level 10 giant. That moment she hypnotized him and they commenced hammering. After several minutes of intense smooching, the delusion faded away and Basara was back to his usual self. Basara then summoned his blade and stuck it to the ground, crashing the entire cloaking barrier in the mansion and making it visible to Yuki, who had been searching for the hidden location. Basara tried saving Maria, but she felt he was too ugly to save her, so she beat him senseless. Shortly afterwards, Yuki entered the mansion and attacked Zest, who evaded her attack and countered it with her own attack. Just then, Yuki used her sword to destroy the chains holding Neo hostage, and the ladies began to unleash barrages of attack on Zest. After several attacks, the duo managed to subdue Zest and bound her with magic ropes. Just when they thought all was good, Zolgia arrived and cast a spell that restrained their bodies. That moment, the goddamn Ugly became angry at Zest because he had been reading her thoughts, and he discovered she wanted a young man like Basara to be her master and not an old ugly freak like him. So he summoned chains that bound her by the neck and choked the life out of her. Just as she was about to meet her doom, Basara, who had managed to put Maria under control, unleashed Banishing Shift that cancelled Zolgia's magic and freed Zest. That instant, Basara charged at Zolgia, but his attack was useless, and Zolgia cast his men's bondage magic on Basara. Zolgia then approached Basara with the intent of stealing his powers, but Basara struggled and broke free from the bondage, stunning Zolgia. Basara immediately launched an offensive, attacking Zolgia with relentless strikes, but Zolgia effortlessly blocked all his attacks. Undeterred, Basara continued to unleash a flurry of assaults, yet Zolgia evaded them with ease and retaliated, punching Basara to the ground and causing him to spew blood. At that moment, Zolgia levitated midair and summoned the flames of hell, directing them at Basara. Basara then countered with his Banishing Shift, but the impact exploded in his face. Despite the powerful attacks, Basara refused to back down, relentlessly pressing his attack against Zolgia. However, Zolgia remained unfazed, parrying each of Basara's strikes. Suddenly, Zolgia cast a powerful spell that sent Basara crashing into a wall. Zolgia attempted to dominate Basara's mind, but Basara resisted fiercely. That instant, Maria intervened, trying to assist Basara, but Zolgia cruelly showed her a video of her imprisoned mother, attempting to manipulate her emotions. He insisted that she join his harem along with the other girls, but Maria defiantly responded that she would rather eat dog poop than be involved with his disgusting old self. Enraged, Zolgia showed her another video, this time of her mother's body, ruptured inside the electromagnetic cell, sending Maria into shock. Seeing Maria's despair triggered terrible memories in Mio of her own deceased parents, unleashing the dormant powers she had inherited from her father, Wilbert. Noticing Mio's overpowering state, Zolgia attempted to absorb her energy, but the moment he touched her, the high voltage in her power nearly sent him to nirvana. Just as Mio prepared to end Zolgia's life, Basara intervened, pleading with her to spare him. Reluctantly, Mio stopped, showing mercy. Taking advantage of the situation, Zolgia teleported out of the building. As the dust settled and the team felt relieved to be alive, they were stunned when Maria's mother walked into the room. Meanwhile, outside the building, Zolgia encountered Takegawa, who was still alive, and revealed that he had tricked Zest into believing she had eliminated him when she had only destroyed a dummy. Takegawa explained that he was the one who freed Maria's mother from the electromagnetic cell. When Zolgia demanded to know Takegawa's intentions, Takegawa revealed that since Zolgia had killed Mio's earthly parents, whom he also considered his own due to their care at the orphanage, his only desire was to kill Zolgia with his own hands. Inside the building, Zest informed the group that Zolgia's zero-particle reaction surrounding the mansion had vanished. Suddenly, the mansion transformed into the stomach of a living creature, shocking everyone. They were immediately attacked by various creeping animals, which they slashed through. Realizing they needed to escape, Zest revealed that they had to destroy the core of the creature, which was located at the center of its body. Basara suggested that he go alone to destroy the core, but his loyal wives insisted on accompanying him despite the danger. Zest then led the way to the center, with Basara and his wives following closely behind, leaving Maria and her mother behind. As they moved inside the gut of the beast, they encountered several creatures that they sliced. Zest then cast a magic spell that opened the guts of the beast, paving the way for them to get to the core. They finally arrived at a creepy stairs, which started to move and suddenly transformed into a one-eyed creature and attacked them. Just then, Yuki instructed them to go without her so she could fend off the one-eyed creature. That moment, Zest mentioned that the core was below, so she burst open the way leading them to the center. Below the core, Mio found a statue of a naked lady and wondered why it looked so much like Zest. As she stared at it, the statue came to life and attacked her. On seeing Mio being attacked by the statue, Basara tried to defend her, and the statue attacked him as well. Just then, Zest cast a mighty spell that completely vanquished them. After that, the team moved further below, and they eventually found the core of the beast. That instant, Zest and Mio advanced to destroy the core, but the gut defense mechanism smacked them away. Realizing it would be difficult to destroy the core, Zest suggested she move further so the defense system would concentrate its attack on her alone, and Basara could finally destroy the core. On hearing her suggestion, Basara and Mio thought it was a very dangerous plan and tried stopping her from going, but she revealed to them that she wasn't human, but just a magical organism created by Zolgia. However, Basara tried talking to her not to act foolishly, but she insisted on moving ahead with the plan, which made Basara regret making her the new hero. That moment, she attacked the guts, and as the defense mechanism attacked her, Basara leaped high and unleashed a banishing shift that utterly obliterated the core, destroying the beast in the process. Shortly afterwards, Zolgia was taken to a prison by Takigawa, who informed him that someone actually wanted to watch him die, and on seeing Basara enter, Zolgia was stunned. Just then, the old pathetic man started to beg for his worthless life, but Takajua was tired of seeing his stomach-turning face, so he cast a spell that bolstered his face amidst blood. Later that night, Basara arrived home to find the ladies safe, and just then, Yuki approached him and told him that even though they had managed to defeat Zolgia, more demons would continue to go after Mio's powers. After listening to her, he went to Mio's room to check up on her but ended up hammering her. Just then, they were interrupted by Yuki and Zest, who needed some of the action. Several weeks later, Leohart, the demon lord, got information about Zolgia's demise, and on getting to his throne, he found his security detail laying dead on the ground. Just then, he encountered Jin sitting on his throne. That moment, Jin told him he had come to repay him for laying a hand on his son. Will Jin be able to eliminate Leohart, the demon lord, finally, or will more demons come for Mio's power? Comment Saz if you want the next part. Also clap the like button if you love this recap, and subscribe to this channel for more legendary plot adventures.